remnants of a major tropical storm continue to move northeast up into the Gulf of Alaska. This system will actually be moving west of Alaska. As it weakens, moving into cooler waters, it's actually going to interact favorably with the northern jet, intensifying rapidly into a hurricane force low pressure system, powerful storm system, moving and impacting Alaska, western Alaska for tomorrow night into Sunday night and Monday. This system is expected to bring storm force winds into Alaska, the western portions of Alaska, especially Kodiak Island and other islands around there. We also have wind gusts of 50 to 70 miles per hour, some locations 80 miles per hour. This storm system will be reaching hurricane strength with barometric pressure of 27.4 is what's being forecast by the European computer model. Nonetheless, it's not quite as intense as the system we saw earlier this week, which was completely extraordinary, where we actually had hurricane-sustained winds with that system. Hurricane-sustained winds. This system will be having the gusts, but the sustained winds will be storm force sustained winds. Storm force front moves through over the weekend. Lots going on for Alaska as another storm system follows in its path. People who are interested in the forecast in Alaska could read through the National Weather Service forecast discussion for Alaska. The storm system crosses the Bering Sea, the remnants of this tropical storm, which becomes a hurricane force low pressure system. A hurricane force low pressure system, it's one of the few times where we have basically a hurricane, but it's not named. It's the remnants of tropical storm. It starts with an H that's up impacting that area. Now, we're going to get some snow out of this as well in the mountains, but in general, it's working with tropical warmth as it brings in warmer air into the system. This is a tropical system, at least it starts off that way. And again, it develops into hurricane strength as we go through the weekend. Headed into the Midwest, well, let's go to the next tropical storm, actually, which is pushing copious moisture into Arizona. National Weather Service has issued a flood watch in effect for Phoenix, Arizona. They're expecting anywhere from 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch of rain, which is heavy for Phoenix. Heavy rainfall possible, tells us the National Weather Service for today and tonight. Forecast highs, however, remain in the 90s. For Phoenix, Arizona. Headed into the Midwest today and tomorrow, temperatures are recovering nicely in the plains from the cool down midweek. We head back into the low 90s in some locations. We were in the 90s in the beginning of the week, Sunday and Monday. We're back into the 90s for some locations in northern Oklahoma, possibly even southern Kansas. Now, the other locations might not be in the 90s, but widespread 80s are forecasted for much of Kansas today, including Nebraska. South Dakota, the high-resolution models are picking up on 85-degree heat, headed into the downslope areas around Rapid City. Downslope of the Black Hills for South Dakota. High-resolution models are forecasting temperatures in the 80s for tomorrow afternoon. Global models forecasting temperatures to remain in the 70s. This is like a one-day heat that's out in the plains. Well, for the plains, it's actually already several days. We had temperatures in the low 90s yesterday for some locations in northern Oklahoma. One weather station reported upper 90s. If we have time, we're going to go over the exact cities. Otherwise, you can take a look at windy.com and look at some of the weather stations over there. Some of them are official, some of them are not. So one would have to see whether the 98 degrees is official, because most locations reported afternoon highs upper 80s and low 90s in that region, and mid to upper 80s as you head north of Oklahoma. Headed into Sunday, that's when the heat intensifies. And then Monday, it starts to weaken again, but it moves east. We have Sunday afternoon highs, temperatures going well into the 80s across, Nebraska and Kansas and Oklahoma as well. And temperatures go into the, let's go to Tuesday. The system, it moves a little bit south. We have a ridge, a high pressure ridge on Tuesday, a 593 decimeter high pressure ridge centered over Texas. It doesn't really move too far north either, but temperatures, it's October. The sun is much weaker than what it would be in July. The days are 1 hour shorter here in Chicago. The days are shorter across the country. High temperatures, Houston, Texas, low 90s for most days this week. Upper 80s and low 90s for Houston, Texas. The trick over there, however, is the dew points only in the lower 50s, so the sun is more efficient at heating those temperatures. The real bonus is going to happen next weekend for many places in the country within this ridge. We have temperatures headed in for Tinley Park, Illinois, going into the mid-80s next weekend, Saturday and Sunday. That's the south side of Chicago. Similar temperatures across the Chicago area, low to mid-80s, and that one-day heat, that warmth turns into a one-day heat for Monday with temperatures in the low 80s. Warmer temperatures for next weekend, not quite as warm as they were last weekend, but that's for the Chicago area. This upcoming weekend, mid-80s, and that warmth continues as it moves east, but it's in a weakening phase. The Monday heat from the west is from an intense storm system that moves off into Canada, bringing its trailing cold front into the region later on Monday, and one has to wonder whether there will be thunderstorms across the plains, maybe even severe. One would think yes. We're entering the severe weather season, believe it or not. There's actually two severe weather seasons. So you go into the spring. Meteorologist Dave Murray, he's retired, but he tells us in St. Louis, KTVI, he now lives in Hawaii, but in the springtime is the severe weather season for St. Louis. But there's a second severe weather season that's the last week of October and the first week of November. So we're entering that season, and we're also entering the time of year when the storms are most intense along the Great Lakes. That's the month of November. We've had some storms that were so intense that ships sunk in Lake Michigan as if it was a sea, as if it was an ocean. Actually, storm systems are often called November witch storms, a witch as in a magic spell, because Lake Michigan is relatively warm compared to the other temperatures, and heat will intensify the rising air, rapidly intensifying storm systems. So we're not quite at November yet, but we're headed there. So we're looking at a strong storm system that impacts the United States and heads up north into Canada during the beginning part of the week. The storm system kind of doesn't have such a clear track and kind of also loses its spot on the map. It's a little bit hard to identify where it is in the middle part of the week. Perhaps that's why the warmth is weakening, but the colder air behind the front brings in colder air, and we no longer will have southwest winds for Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. That's why temperatures are going to be cooler with highs only in the 60s across the Chicago area. That 80-degree heat will probably only last one day here in Chicago, Monday, if it even gets up to 80. Perhaps only upper 70s. But the southwest winds return on Friday, or at least there's a southerly component to the winds, and those temperatures go up into the low 80s for places like in St. Louis. But the heat is solid for Saturday and Sunday across the whole state of Illinois as temperatures go into the lower, mid, and even some upper 80s here in the Midwest for next weekend. That's the warmth. Cold air is right behind that heat. Very cold air according to the GFS model. In fact, GFS model shows the air cold enough for snow. Each system, each time you have this hot air, this time of the year, we don't have those heat waves like we had in July. The heat is more in response to compressional warming that occurs ahead of a front. Southwest winds boost those temperatures along with compressional warming that occurs ahead of a front. Those fronts are all associated with a storm system, or we have the storm systems associated with the front. Either way, behind the front, much colder air comes in or much cooler air. It's normal to get a 20-degree drop in temperatures from day to day. Highs, low 80s one day, low 60s the next. So 60s, normal highs this time of the year is the 60s. That's what we're looking at for much of next week. Temperatures in the 60s, unless we're in the really warm air where temperatures go into the very close to 80 degrees for Monday, and then by Friday we go into the 70s. By Saturday and Sunday we're solid in the 80s. It's behind that air, the initial phase behind that air. Any city that gets impacted by the initial air mass that's coming in behind that air has a chance of getting really cold with highs only in the 40s. We do have some GFS models showing portions of North Dakota, maybe only the 30s, but the European computer model, at least on windy.com, seems to be more accurate. People who have access to more of the GFS and European model say that the GFS model is catching up. But on windy.com, the European computer model seems to be more accurate. At the current time, it doesn't really seem to be forecasting snow. It seems the precipitation associated with the storm system, again, we have two solid storm systems. Number one is Monday's storm system, powerhouse storm system that moves into Canada, bringing hot air ahead of it, cooler air, much cooler air behind it. The next storm system is for next weekend. That one again brings hot air ahead of it, very warm air, hot air ahead of it. We're talking about 30 degrees Celsius. That's the air ahead of it, and much colder air behind it for places in the plains or Montana. But just like heat weakens as it moves east, the cold air also moderates as it moves east. So high temperatures here in Chicago, the air behind it, we still might be able to get to 60 degrees. We might not. We might see a day or two after this hot air. The hot air is Saturday and Sunday for next week. Following, whenever that warmth ends, whenever the front associated with that storm system ends, we have a chance of seeing a sub 60 degree high. That's a possibility, but nothing like what might be happening in North Dakota. There's a chance that some cities might only have a sub 40 degree high, and it's hard to say the word snow. I mean, it's not so early in the season. But we do have in the Colorado area one of these systems. We have some minor systems in between. You know, today we have a weak front moving through. National Weather Service says there could be some embedded thunderstorms in the Chicago area just for today or tonight, with some rain effect lake showers over the next 24 hours. That's before the warmth really starts to push in. We have some rain effect lake showers. Winds turn off the lake, it looks like, for tomorrow. We have the warmer air again Sunday, but especially Monday, and that it's more of a solid front. A solid, stronger front moves through later on Monday. Very similar to what happened last week. We had heat in Chicago. Unseasonably warm temperatures occurred Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Colder temperatures came in after that. But, you know, it was warm Monday night, but rain. People sleeping in the sukkah, they had to move inside due to the rain that occurred around midnight, even pouring rain after midnight. Colder air came in, and after that, every night, temperatures have dropped below room temperature. Room temperature is 15 to 30 degrees Celsius, 59 to 86 degrees Fahrenheit, which is temperatures dropped under 59. We had years where the temperature never dropped under 59 throughout Sukkot, even here in the Chicago area, until the last final days. This year, every night except for the first night, temperatures have been dropping under 59. We even had locations in the upper 40s in the Chicago area. Meteorologist Tom Skilling tells us when you have 3 consecutive days with temperatures in the low 50s, that kills out all of the mosquitoes. So that's the good news for Chicago for this week. We had that 3 consecutive days with temperatures morning lows in the low 50s or cooler. We saw some of that. So in general, we had some nice Sukkot weather, a little bit chilly, but we did not see refrigeration temperatures, which is 5 degrees Celsius or colder, 41 degrees Fahrenheit or colder. We didn't come anywhere near that. The closest might have been 49 degrees at O'Hare Airport, but the West Rogers Park area likely remained above that. So it's up and down. That's what it is. It's up and down. And in Chicago, it's less so up and down. It's more just 60s. But we have every now and then a brief break of a little bit of some summer heat with temperatures in the 80s. It's the plains where you really go up and down, where the heat is more intense and the cold air is more intense. And the 90s stays pretty much confined to Oklahoma, and it's confined to just the lower 90s. The humidity, when you want to find a place that has humidity with 90-degree temperatures, you would have to go to Houston, Texas. But Houston won't be seeing a return to tropical humidity until next weekend for whatever reason. But the low 90s will be there this weekend. They do have a 593 decimeter high over the region in Texas on this Tuesday. Not that that's really a big source of any heat this time of the year. It's mostly from compressional warming. But down south, we're still dealing with high pressure ridges. So that's the story. We have minimal hurricanes here. The hurricane that we do have is something happened. It's that jet stream up in Alaska that's just going to spin the thing up. It really intensify the remnants of a tropical storm. And we have two tropical storms down, which is spreading its moisture into the Arizona area. You know, elsewhere in the world, I can't say one way or another right now. And over the next week or two, we have the development of winter. We do have the Colorado area tends to get their snowstorms in the beginning of the snow season and at the end of the snow season. That's when the biggest storms occur in Colorado, because the mid part of the snow season, the track goes too far south. And sure enough, if you look at the European computer model, you will see snow on the backside of some of these storm systems. We mentioned the storm system moving into Canada from the plains on Monday, and another storm system at the end of the week. The backside of these systems does have snow, at least in the mountains for Colorado. We have some weaker systems as well. If you look on the windy.com, it says the word rain and snow, but you look at the colors, you can't find any snow, and the temperatures don't seem to match up to snow. The place where you're going to find the heaviest snow right now is the hurricane storm system, where the areas which will be having the precipitation fall as snow, you could find snowfall accumulations of 1 to 2 inches an hour. I don't, the names of the cities, I can't tell you, but I could tell you where it is on the map. It's not in the United States. The place where I looked, it's in Russia already, because it's to the west of the storm track. This storm, this hurricane, it kind of heads into the Gulf of Alaska, but it doesn't go through the Gulf of Alaska. I believe it's called the Bering Sea. It's crossing the Bering Sea. It's going west of Alaska. Now, there's a theory, I don't know the name of the theory, but it says, it's some rhyming theory that says whenever you have a storm system that crosses the Bering Sea, you will have the same storm system, a storm system that would take the same track across the Midwest 3 weeks later. Now, I might be off on some of those details. It could be that if you wanted to... Okay, that's the basic idea. Some people say it's not true. Some people say it is true. It could be that is a theory that only affects us during the winter months. Perhaps it doesn't apply when we're dealing with the remnants of a tropical storm. But it's something that you might want to keep in mind, because right now we're at October 10th. So 3 weeks from now is the first week of November. So we have a powerful storm system that's crossing the Bering Sea. I'll just tell you that we spoke about November storms. Even without that theory, we have a decent chance of there's a higher chance than not of seeing a strong storm system move across the Midwest in November. But the real point of that theory is to try to figure out where the snow will be. It's to figure out the storm track. But this early in the season, where we're not really dealing with snow here in the Midwest, that theory doesn't really matter. Anyways, all that it is likely that we will see some storm system pass through our area. It would fall out, I guess, it would fall out the first week of November. However, Sunday it's still going to be crossing the Bering Sea. So Sunday it's October 12th. You take 3 weeks after that, We're at November 2nd. So something like that, we could have something crossing the Midwest then. That, just because there's snow up there in the mountains, that doesn't mean there would be snow here. But in the winter time, it would mean that. It would be something similar. That's how it goes. Many people say it isn't true, and I don't really know how this whole thing originated, and you would have to look it up to look more into that. Okay, thank you for listening. I wish everybody a wonderful day. Chag Kosher v'Sameach. Have a good Moed and a good Shabbos, and a good Erev Shabbos Kodesh. And just 1 second before we finish here. It says plug in headphones. All right, before we finish here, it is Sukkot. So I wanted to give, and we're in Chicago right now. I'm looking at the North American mesoscale model right now on windy.com. I just wanted we have clouds in the area, so I wanted to tell you a detailed forecast a very localized forecast of what might be happening here in West Rogers Park or Lincolnwood. I'm looking at the 10 p.m. conditions, and I see rain that's moving into places like Willamette, Winnetka, Morden Grove, and perhaps even some northern portions of Evanston. And then by the time it's really sometime between 10 and 11, we have that rain that crosses. It's like at 11 o'clock or so. That's when the rain is ongoing, according to the North American mesoscale model. That's a high-resolution model. That's why I'm using that model. That we have the rain ongoing across Evanston, not across all of Chicago, but across the west. It is across the West Rogers Park area, and likely Skokie as well. Skokie as well. It's not like some other areas you go down to. It's not like by Tinley Park, but it's close to there. So by 11 o'clock, those people having a meal in the sukkah tonight. So what I see, I'm using the North American mesoscale model, and you'll see around 5 p.m. There's an area of rain that stays to our south. It affects the Chicago downtown area, and around 7 p.m. there's another area of rain which affects just the Chicago downtown area, and it's really at 11 o'clock ongoing rain, maybe even 10, a little bit after 10 according to some. That kind of moves out by around midnight for those people sleeping in the sukkah. So we have throughout the night, it looks fine, midnight to 6 a.m. I'm looking at this model. It's by 7 a.m. sometime between 6 and 7, rain starts to overspread the region again. That's for tomorrow morning. That already is lake effect rain showers. And that you could see the winds are off the lake. So that's lake effect rain showers. They're harder to forecast. I wonder if the global models are actually going to be picking up on that. But that's already, people are going to be up and about. They'll be in shul already. So by the lunchtime, the rain, there's scattered rain showers here and there, but the more widespread stuff really ends, by mid to late morning, and there could be some continued lake effect rain showers here and there that continue throughout the day, but they kind of clear up in the afternoon. We have another little rain effect a lake effect rain shower that moves through tomorrow late evening, and that's like 9 o'clock p.m. 10. But these are difficult to forecast, and this one it's very localized. Not even all of Lincolnwood, just a small area. By 10 p.m. a little tiny area, 11 p.m. A little area, already 8 p.m. They're a little like a drizzle someplace. Things remain dry through 7 p.m. without a doubt, and most areas remain dry after that. Things are dry again by 11 p.m. That's tomorrow night. By 11 p.m. things are dry because the winds are at that point out of the southeast. So this is the North American mesoscale model, a high-resolution model that keeps things dry even throughout Sunday. The winds remain out of the southeast. We have a return to southwest winds. I believe that's happening on Monday. I just put it onto the European computer model. We get another idea of, and it's, so the European computer model does not pick up on the rain for tonight or tomorrow or tomorrow night, but that's because it's not high resolution enough to pick up on lake effect rain showers, so they just don't pick up on it. And we have an easterly component to the southerly winds all the way through Sunday night. Our winds don't become, really, they never really become southwest this time around. So, you know, the questions as to how warm will it actually be Monday, you know, it's a question. We have the European computer model, again, does show highs going into the low 80s for Monday. But if we look at if we go to the North American mesoscale model, that doesn't have Monday. That's the problem. That doesn't have Monday. Let's take you over to AccuWeather. That might be the best way to do it right now. I have the Skokie. We have, it says this afternoon, some sun turning cloudy with a couple of showers, 65. Tonight, clouds breaking. Okay, tomorrow it shows us with mostly sunny. We did go over to the possibility of some lake effect rain showers. Winds north-northeast. Periods of clouds and sunshine. Sunday, highs upper 60s. And Monday over here, intervals of clouds and sunshine with a shower in the area and a high of 71. The reason why we don't have the forecast of 80 degrees right now for Chicago on Monday is because the winds over here remain from the southeast. The cold front pushes through before the winds have a chance to become southwest. And then the big question over here is, according to AccuWeather, winds are from the southwest for next weekend, but that mid-80s is not being forecasted by AccuWeather. So that's something that's a very interesting thing over here. We see that the temperature in Death Valley is 98 degrees. You go to University City, though. That's by St. Louis. So you have Sunday and Monday. You have they don't have a lake. So you have southeast winds. Sunday and Monday bring temperatures in the low to mid 80s. And then for that area, you have temperatures in the low 80s Friday. But that place also, we see they're not forecasting 80s for Saturday and Sunday. So all that heat which was spoken about with such high confidence on this very podcast, which I got from the European computer model, it's interesting to see that it is not being forecasted by AccuWeather for next weekend. It's not being forecasted by AccuWeather for next weekend. A very interesting thing. I'm going to just review right in front of me. I'm reviewing it to see if indeed it is the European computer model indeed is forecasting mid-80s for next weekend, making it up into Kankakee. Temperatures are in the low 80s next weekend. It's Saturday, Sunday. It's Friday through Sunday with temperatures in the low 80s for Kankakee and the Tinley Park. That was the area where we were focused on before. There were some sources that showed mid to upper 80s across the Midwest in general. We had Tinley Park, we were saying. So that's something to point out, that the high confidence of that mid 80s, we don't have, for some reason, AccuWeather is not forecasting that for next weekend. That's something that we'll add in over here. But what we will do, however, is look quickly at the weather.gov, which is covered by the National Weather Service. to see next weekend. So they are for next weekend for Skokie, Illinois. Let's go for this weekend. Monday showing low 70s. They don't go up to, the National Weather Service takes us up to Friday, upper 60s. So it's something to keep an eye on as to how far north will the heat actually make it and how intense will the heat actually be. In this podcast, we spoke about high confidence of temperatures in the 80s for Saturday and Sunday. That high confidence comes from the clarity that the European computer model seems to speak with. But we do have top-notch weather experts that are not forecasting 80s at this time for next weekend, for the Saturday and Sunday of next weekend. And the air that comes in, we were speaking about the air that comes in behind that, that happens, that colder air comes in kind of gradually, but comes in most intensely Thursday. It's Thursday when we actually start to get northwest winds, and we see a 7 p.m. temperature. Thursday night is when we drop. This is already the 24th. The temperatures drop to the upper 30s, but it's going to take so long for that cold air to get here. That's why in North Dakota, when the air arrives right away, the air is going to have that higher level of intensity regarding cold. You look at a place in northwest North Dakota, you have highs on Saturday, mid-70s, but already by the temperatures are already dropping into the mid-30s by Monday morning over there. Monday morning, 7 p.m. on Sunday. 7 p.m. Sunday, even before, by 5 p.m. Sunday, you have rain, northwest winds, a temperature of 39 degrees. So it's not so far out. That's the European computer model. It's not so far-fetched to hear about snow, especially if we were to look this up in the... We do have snow for October 22nd, Wednesday, October 22nd. That's a far way out, just possible snow. This is for Hanks, North Dakota. If we were to look at the... we were saying the possibility of snow Monday. It would be interesting to see Sunday night system in North Dakota. If we were to look at North Dakota Sunday night system, we'll take a look at it right now. In North Dakota, we'll take a look at the Bismarck, North Dakota National Weather Service just to see what it says over there. The Bismarck, North Dakota National Weather Service. So you have, they're not forecasting any snow, but it just says cooler next week. Some snow could mix in with the rain in northwest North Dakota Sunday evening and night. That's just a couple days from now. We're talking about a little bit more than about 48 hours from now. The North Dakota, you have above normal temperatures continue through Saturday night. Highs in the 60s and 70s, lows in the 40s and 50s. Windy with increasing chances for rain this weekend. Some snow can mix in with the rain in northwest North Dakota Sunday evening and night. And cooler next week with highs in the 40s and 50s, lows in the 20s and 30s. Dry Monday and Tuesday, then low chances for rain Wednesday through Thursday. The discussion says a narrow upper ridge was placed over the region this afternoon in between a compact low over the Great Lakes and a deeper, larger low off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. Surface high pressure was centered over southeast North Dakota, with light winds closer to this feature, while a tightening pressure gradient on the back side of the high was leading to breezy winds across the western part of the state. Winds will stay elevated tonight, contributing to mild overnight lows in the lower 40s to lower 50s as we head into the weekend. The aforementioned low off the west coast begins to surge onshore tonight into Saturday morning, turning flow across the Dakotas southwesterly. Strong southeasterly low-level flow will help temperatures warm, but also lead to a windy day. This is again for Bismarck, North Dakota, especially central and east. High temperatures well above normal, ranging from the mid-60s in the James River Valley to the upper 70s far west. As we start to get impulses ejecting from the approaching trough base, some scattered showers could develop tonight through the day Saturday, mainly across the far southwest and central. Initial showers early in the morning will be dealing with relatively high cloud bases and a modest dry layer, so expecting little to no rain from these at first. Once these move out late in the day, cams are in decent agreement on a break in precipitation ahead of a deepening surface low and attendant cold front in Montana. Ahead of this front, there could be just enough instability to produce a few thunderstorms, with the bulk share increasing as the wave approaches. The current projected timing and some of the extended high-resolution guidance would favor any thunderstorms occurring late Saturday night into Sunday morning. CSU machine learning has consistently shown low severe weather probabilities on Sunday, but thinking this is valid for early in the day and is a pretty unlikely solution due to the forecast low instability as the main shortwave trough based in. So we would actually, if we're going to start speaking about severe weather, we would want to look more in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I think we're going to take a look at that right now. Look at Tulsa, Oklahoma, just to do real quick over there. So they have today and tonight the thunderstorms with dangerous lightning is a severe weather risk. The risk is limited. It's near the Oklahoma-Kansas border, and it's ongoing as we speak. A broken line of showers and isolated thunderstorms continue to move southward across southern Kansas this afternoon. This activity is expected to gradually weaken. However, an isolated storm or two will be possible the rest of this afternoon in northeast Oklahoma, close to the Kansas border. The main hazard will be cloud-to-ground lightning. Days 2 through 7, Saturday through Thursday. Saturday, no hazard. Sunday, a high wind potential. Monday through Thursday, no hazard. Southerly winds gusting 15 to 30 miles per hour are forecast Sunday, with the higher gusts expected over northeast Oklahoma. These winds, combined with continued warm temperatures and developing drought conditions, will increase grassland fire weather concerns for portions of northeast Oklahoma Sunday afternoon. Area of greater concern continues to be along and west of Highway 75 in northeast Oklahoma, where afternoon minimum relative humidity values are forecast in the 25 to 35% range. Low rain chances remain forecasted Monday for parts of northeast Oklahoma as a weak cold front moves into the region. Otherwise, no significant rainfall is currently forecasted through much of next week, so we do not have that rain. We do not have the severe weather risk, according to the National Weather Service, for next week, that Monday storm system. And in fact, if you look at the temperatures, this is for Tulsa, Oklahoma, you'll see temperatures going on Sunday. We have hot temperatures of 90 degrees, although they drop on Monday, Columbus Day. Temperatures drop into the low 80s. By Thursday, temperatures rise again back into the upper 80s. Unseasonably warm temperatures continue through the weekend. This again is the Tulsa, Oklahoma National Weather Service telling us that unseasonably warm temperatures, October 10th, 12:16 p.m., 2025, unseasonably warm temperatures continue through the weekend. Increasing southerly winds and the warm conditions will aid in limited fire weather concerns for the weekend, especially Sunday afternoon. Rain chances return early next week, mainly for areas along and north of I-54. Loosely organized convective dust cluster ongoing across southwest Missouri will continue to drift southeastward, with the western flank of the associated outflow serving as a boundary for scattered to isolated convection. A few showers or storms will likely move into far northeast Oklahoma and far northwestern Arkansas through mid-evening, but coverage is expected to remain low, otherwise dry and seasonably mild overnight conditions. The winds relax on Monday as a weak front moves into northeast Oklahoma. This boundary will be overspread by the plume of tropical moisture from decaying systems off the coast of Mexico. A broad fetch of rains are likely along the extent of the boundary, However, the southward advance of the front and associated rains continue to be shown as minimal into the local region. Rain chances will largely be confined to northeast Oklahoma, and overall amounts are likely to be light. Any cooling associated with the front and or increase in cloud cover will be brief as stronger ridging expands into the southern plains by midweek. This is probably the 593 decimeter ridge over Texas. Expect dry weather and temps well above normal for much of next week. Regarding that the remnants of the tropical systems, we would look into Phoenix, and we mentioned there's a flood watch for that area. The National Weather Service tells us this is for a portion of south central Arizona, including, it tells us a bunch of areas. It's through Sunday evening. Excessive runoff may result in flooding of rivers, creeks, streams, and other low-lying and flood-prone locations. Creeks and streams may rise out of their banks. Abundant moisture associated with the tropical system will promote periods of moderate to heavy rainfall through Sunday. Expect additional rainfall totals as high as 1 to 2 inches, with locally higher amounts possible. We have currently in the Phoenix, Arizona area, they have a dew point of 61 degrees, temperature 93 degrees, afternoon highs forecasted to be in the mid-90s, and tonight the new rainfall amount between 1/4 and 1/2 of an inch possible, and for today 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch possible. So those, tomorrow 1/10 and 1/4 of an inch, but higher during storms. And rainfall amounts 1/10 to 1/4 inch tomorrow night, higher near storms. And rainfall amounts are not given to us after that. We have a flood watch remains in effect for southeast California and southwest Arizona through this evening, and for all of south central Arizona from this afternoon through Saturday. Multiple rounds of showers with occasional embedded thunderstorms will affect much of the area today into Saturday, with the heaviest rainfall likely over higher terrain areas to the north and northeast of Phoenix. Some locations could receive rainfall totals exceeding 2 inches, which will promote excessive runoff into area watersheds, leading to flooding of low-lying areas. Additional chances for showers and thunderstorms, with some storms possibly being strong, are expected across south central and eastern Arizona for Sunday through early next week. Now, this is day one of the weather event is now in the books, and the focus for shower and thunderstorm activity has been more across south central Arizona. This is in response. The PWatts have increased to between 1.5 to 1.8 inches, with additional moisture advection likely pushing PWatts near 2 inches across at least southwest Arizona later today. So this is all from that remnants of a tropical storm, which it might speak about here, or it might not. Tropical Storm Raymond. See, the long-term Sunday through Thursday forecast uncertainty remains quite high, starting Sunday with any additional moisture and impacts indirectly associated with Tropical Storm Raymond, now likely to mostly stay to the south over far southeast Arizona into Mexico. However, we will see plenty of upper-level forcing associated with a deepening Pacific trough diving southward through California later Sunday through Monday. We are still likely to see fairly good moisture hanging out from around Phoenix through eastern Arizona during this time, with PWatts anywhere from 0.8 to 1.1 inches. Plenty of low and mid-level moisture will be in place for additional showers and thunderstorm chances for Sunday and Monday, but the chances for heavy rainfall will be more localized and likely reliant to any potential thunderstorms. The Weather Prediction Center has highlighted a slight risk on their Day 4 and Day 5 east and southeast of Phoenix, with the marginal risk extending westward through most of the Phoenix metro. Further decreasing of moisture is likely to begin by Tuesday. So that's the story for Phoenix, and we have a fire weather section as well. If we covered Phoenix, it's like, how could we not? We covered Chicago, but we could do a better job with Chicago. isolated showers are possible through this evening, followed by a few isolated light lake-effect rain showers or sprinkles over northeast Illinois on Saturday. Cold front currently encroaching on the northwest county warning area. As of 2:27 p.m. will drift southeast across the county warning area through tonight. Cannot rule out some sprinkles along the front, especially with a passing upper-level trough this evening. A north-northeast wind shift behind the front will then advance a band of lake-effect clouds into northwest Indiana and especially northeast Illinois late tonight through much of Saturday. Low inversion heights under 5 to 6 will generally limit precipitation potential, but marginal delta temps and daytime enhancement could generate isolated light lake effect rain showers or sprinkles over northeast Illinois late morning into the afternoon. The overall pattern across central continental United States will remain relatively quiet next week, with low amplitude ridge anchored across the central continental United States. A trough tracking northeast to south central Canada will push a weakening cold front toward the forecast area early in the week. A trailing mid-level front may bring some decaying showers or sprinkles over the area Monday afternoon and evening, but dry conditions are expected at this time. A surface cold front will then shift southward over the area Monday night and stall south of the forecast area by Tuesday morning. Weak warm air advection and a mid-level disturbance surrounding the ridge may yield a period of light rain Tuesday night. That we did not cover. The central continental United States ridge will then amplify across the Mississippi River Valley late in the week, likely resulting in dry and seasonably warm conditions, and that's where we were speaking about high confidence of warmth of 80s. National Weather Service is not up to that yet, and AccuWeather didn't have the same confidence, wasn't even forecasting 80s. Okay, so it's time to okay, it's time to call it for a wonderful weekend. We'll go over just some of the background songs that you've heard. Atlantic Tunes Calm from podcast maker, Glass Beads from Blue Dot Sessions, Waltz for Zakaria from Blue Dot Sessions, Trans-Siberian Express, Luella Gren, Vessel 3, Blue Dot Sessions, Curious Outcomes, Blue Dot Sessions, Color Country, Blue Dot Sessions, Upper Registers, Blue Dot Sessions, Glass Beads, Blue Dot Sessions. You might have heard Skyway, Blue Dot Sessions, Borrow, Blue Dot Sessions, Molly, Blue Dot Sessions. You might have heard Our Names Engraved, Blue Dot Sessions, Plum King, Blue Dot Sessions, Lonely Stairwell, Blue Dot Sessions, Lamb Drop, Blue Dot Sessions, and currently you're listening to March on Gumdrop Field, Blue Dot Sessions. This is Weather with Enthusiasm. My name is Simcha Lefton, your weather enthusiast, and we're now going to listen to a trailer which consists of exciting extracts of this weather podcast. Stay tuned. Here we go. You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. There has never been a forecast discussion that has produced more of a racing heart. We have an inspirational powerhouse storm developing here in the Midwest. Major winter storm develops in the eastern portions of the Midwest. Good evening. We have gone into one of the most exciting weather patterns. We have an active weather pattern taking place. This is something which the Washington Post has described as a true rarity. We've just seen 6 consecutive days with record-breaking temperatures. High temperature 113 degrees at Sky Harbor International Airport. Feet of snow are falling in Japan.
Oh my gosh.
Weather. That's a time of celebration. Just Google Weather with Enthusiasm and they're all going to come up. Several additional feet of snow is expected by Monday morning.